Hey, everybody. Hey, I was just talking to my wife about something. She and I sit down a lot and we talk about, my mind begins to wonder and really think about things about the Mormon church. Even though we're Orthodox, we're in Utah. We have a lot of people still who are Mormon here. I think it's about 40% LDS in the St. George area. But one of the things we started talking about, you got to ask that question. Why are Mormons not interested in wanting to learn about Mormonism, and about the history, about things that are a lot of people who are left Mormonism, how they found out about it and why they're not really interested. And as we were talking, it came to me and my wife that, they're really busy. My wife was like, she was just sharing how many things that once you're a Mormon that you have to do. You're with the children, you're taking them all different places. It's a system where a lot of people are involved doing things and they're trying to help people, or they have their teaching teaching things that they do at church, if it's nursery, or if it's actually a pretty big calling that they might have. And I was thinking about this too. There's so many Mormons who are so busy, right, doing so many different things. And as we were talking about it, I think that's probably one of the very big things. Mormons don't really sort of search because they're so preoccupied and so involved in so many different things of the church, of the community, of the culture, that, honestly, to be evaluating the historical perspective and then considering that it could really affect them, they usually put the hand up and say, no, I'm not interested in that, because they know that there are people who are leaving. And so they don't want that type of outcome for their family, because they want their kids raised in a more of a wholesome, moral environment. So to really test truth to them is hard, because there's a lot of fences that they put up. And I think that's the problem. They're so busy that many of them are not really interested in wanting to or have a chance to learn. So they're just following the way Mormonism is, and what happens is that they come to a standstill on really learning. And I think that's what ultimately happens. Very fascinating, when you think about it. When you look at the temple, just evaluate the concept of the temple. They have 161 temples now that they're building. And as I said before, the word is, and I got this from a guy who restores the temples. He told me that they already have on the drawing board 12 to 15 temples a year for the next 10 years. So they're going to be building all these temples. And, it's really fascinating. I also talked to a guy who he was pretty high up in the John Huntsman Corporation, and he's LDS, and he knows a lot about the faith. And he was telling me, I asked him the question, why do you think there's so many changes going on? And I said, they just changed recently the 2 hour church service. It was 3 hours to 2 hours. And he says he really thinks a lot of it was done because of the fact that they don't want to build chapels anymore and spend money on chapels. So they could put like 4 or 5 wards now in chapels and one chapel, rather than keep building more chapels, because it costs more and more money. And I thought, oh, that was a pretty smart idea. I think you might be right there. I think that was a consideration. But ultimately, when you evaluate the Mormon temple, there is no relationship whatsoever to Christianity. And to imagine that it was Joseph Smith, after 1,800 years, to come up with this idea of having these big temples, and they're all lit up. And yes, they look very mystical, magical, if you will. Especially in the dark, it stands out. and people notice it, right? So, you think about all this and their branding of this and why they're trying to do this, and to realize personally that, it has no relationship. I mean, there's nothing there with Christianity and the Mormon temple. So, like I said before, I've studied the ancient church and teach it, and there is no relationship. I mean, yes, and in the ancient church, we talk about the altar. In the Orthodox Church, you have the altar, you have the pure offering, which is the real presence of Christ. The Eucharist is very important, and in essence, that's like a holy of holies for those who are Orthodox or Catholic. It's that experience, and so that has sort of a concept as a temple, a Jewish temple, but now it's Christ for us. That when we partake of the Eucharist, we're abiding in Him and He's abiding in us, and that whole process of theosis is very, very important for Orthodox, so that we become more Christ-like and God-like, and we live a very different life. But as far as the Mormon temple, I mean, handshakes, tokens, being a savior on Mount Zion for people who have died in the past. I mean, this whole view that they have, there is no connectivity, there is no relationship anywhere. But anyway, I mean, these are just things that we think about and we talk about at times, and it's just surprising that so many people don't know. I mean, Malachi 1:11, study that out. That was, for the Gentiles, for the church, the incense offering as well as the pure offering. So we see that whole relationship now in the ancient church, and also currently in the Orthodox faith. So interesting stuff, interesting ideas. Mormonism really is just, there's no connectivity to the actual relationship to the ancient church in many, many, many ways. I mean, I think Joseph Smith did know about Eastern Orthodoxy and used some of there are similar things that he uses with it, but there's so many things that are far off that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, just a thought. God bless you guys. Have a good day today, and talk to you soon.